Okay.
You're recording? All right.
Yep.
So the overall length of the trailer, did we figure that out?
25, right?
It was like 25 or 26 feet. We'll double check that in a minute. Okay, so these beams, the main truss beams that come across are
How far
outside
apart?
to outside measurement are 53 and 5/8, 53 and a half inches.
Is this recording too?
It should be recording, isn't it? Did you push that button?
Yeah.
The beeping is
I mean,
recording.
you'll hear sound.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
yes.
Say that again.
So these main truss beams are running at the tail. They're 53 and 5/8 inches. 53 and 5/8 inches. And up near the beginning, where they flare in, we'll measure there, see if they're parallel, just for grins.
Mike, why don't you help
It's
him?
54 inches.
Oh,
So they're not totally parallel. This is ship shop-y sort of work.
but it could be, and it would be right.
That's right. So now, going from the back, just laying it out as a structure, from the very back of the beam, up to the first beam is 50 inches to the back edge. And this beam is 53 to the front. So it's a 3-inch by 4-inch tube steel. And the other beam on top of it looks like a 3-inch by 4-inch tube steel.
Okay.
They are inside dimension. They're 48 inches apart, inside to inside, and they are hopefully centered on the whole mess. They're strapped on mechanically. There's an L bracket that's welded to the side over here. Why don't you come around over here? Well, you can see one here. So there's an L bracket that's welded, and the L bracket that's welded all the way around, and then bolts come up, U-bolts come around and hold that on.
Okay.
I'm surprised they didn't put another set here. I would have done that.
Yeah.
And then these guides come up 7 inches to the top of them, and they look like they're solid steel. If I've got my finger caught in there. And they flare out at about, I don't know, it's not 45, probably a 30-degree angle coming out. And they are...
I'm getting bitten by mosquitoes.
I can't see I can't tell how long that is, but it's 15 inches to the end of this tube, and I can't tell where the metal starts.
Right there.
Oh, okay, so 12 inches. All right, then we've got these big hunkin' rollers here. These rollers are 8-inch rollers.
They move.
They're gimbaled, right? So they pivot on the bottom. There's a welded bracket on the bottom that has a bolt going through it, and a bolt going all the way through over to here. That's an L bracket that goes down like, it goes like this.
Okay.
Okay. And then these are just big U's that have been welded together, so the pivot happens in the middle of there. And that looks like that is 3/8 inch steel. Yep, 3/8 inch steel, pretty thick stuff. And these are 1/4-inch L brackets here, 1/4-inch steel. Now this truss, or this axle, I think it's 2 inches by 3 inches, and it's a solid, I think it's a solid piece. And the axles are welded on. You don't care about that probably, but they've got 4 leaf springs layers, another gimbal pivot here on the middle for the two to work together, and you can do a picture of that, and he'll get the idea how that works. He knows how to do that. It's probably already on your trailer anyway. This piece here that spans across and keeps the distance is a 4x3 tube steel also. They've beveled it to be able to put the fenders on. Looks like the fenders mount here and there, so 3 different places. And everything's all welded on. That's 1/4-inch there. That's 1/4-inch. Okay, so between this main beam and the middle main beam is 28 inches. Or if we go on center, it's about 30, well, it's about 30 3/4 on center. And
Same with that
thing,
one?
Here it's 27.5 or 30.5 on center. So they're not perfect. Looks like they spread them out enough to get their leaf springs in and make it work that way. The weight of the boat, the keel weighs 1,800 pounds and it's lead. We put 200 pounds of lead in ours in addition to that to make it a little stiffer under sail. The boat weighs 5,500 pounds. So the trailer's probably 1,000 pounds. So you're talking 6,500 pounds, 3 tons plus. There. Okay, so then these...
Tahoe's rated for 75, so...
Yeah, you should be okay on towing. These bunks, we'll just see how long they are. And these should be made out of pressure-treated wood because they get wet and they don't dry fast. So they will rot if you don't have pressure-treated. They're 11 feet long and carpet-coated. Make sure you don't put any staples on the good side because they'll scratch your boat. Any staples for the carpet go on the edges of it. And these flex, and we put an extra 2x4 along the back side to give it more strength. Which you don't necessarily have to do. It didn't come that way, but we added that later because we just found it kind of needed it. Okay, they start, the first bracket from the back is 25 inches back. And these little doohickeys right here allow you to kick it out when you're going to put the boat on. So you widen these out, and then the boat can just snug right in there. And then as soon as you pull it out of the water, you hook it up at the nose, right? And then you pull it out of the water, and then when you're going to trailer, you kick these in. It puts pressure all the way along the whole side of the boat and keeps it nice and snug. And then there's these chains that hook on here to keep it from going anywhere, right?
Okay.
So that's a nice little, now it's quite a contraption he's got here, because he's got it levering, and I'm not going to measure all that out.
Yeah.
But here it's made out of 2.5 by 2.5 tube steel. And it's got an angle iron with holes on one end, one side, that's 2.5 by 2.5, and he's bolted that onto here so he can get the height that he wants. Now the height, from the bottom, there's a pivot that's been welded on here, as well as an L bracket. Oh, this is maybe a plate. Looks like it's got a plate going across the whole bottom here. Then there's another side piece welded on here that's not very tall. It's only about 1 3/4 or so. And then he's got 4 bolts with a top plate to put this whole assembly together. Another piece of angle iron with an adjustable nut and bolt with a couple nuts on it. And that allows this whole contraption to be adjusted for how far this goes out and in. This little piece here, I might measure some of this, is 2 3/4 inches, and the nut on center is at 2 inches from the bottom part. And it's at an angle. So it's welded on there at an angle. This is a piece of bent metal, and it's got a little stop poked in here, so it can't go any further than that stop. And that stop really is for the chain to not come off. This little piece here is offset. The thickness of itself, it's 4 inches long, and it's 3/8 inch, pretty thick stuff. It's kind of a cool little thing he's got going on here. Yeah, and he's got another side piece welded here to pivot this whole thing off of. So the length of this is 15.5 inches, and then he's got the extension tube, or L bracket, that's another 14 inches, but the total length of it is 24 3/4 basically when it's extended. So he's got an extra 4.5 inches that he's not, he could have moved it up another couple inches if he needed to, which is nice. It's a little bit of adjustability. Same thing on this back piece. Here he's got an angle piece, and he's got a plate with 4 bolts connecting through, and a bottom plate and side plates that come out to put a pivot on here. This is for your trailer lights come up off this. It's missing. It's got a pin that goes through here, and it looks like that pin has been lost on both sides, so I gotta replace the pin. This is 2.5 by 2.5 tube steel. It's got a welded joint at an angle there. It's nicely done. And it's got an adjustable bolt with screws here for that pin. And what can happen with this, it's supposed to be able to swing out or swing up. I don't think it's supposed to swing much. It's supposed to normally just stay vertical. And this little pin that's missing, somebody took it out, probably shouldn't have. Because generally that stays vertical when you're trailering. And then the lights are on this little swing beam, and I'll measure those out here in just a second. They swing up when you're
okay.
going to go in the water. You can pull these out if you're not in real deep water. I need to lubricate that. But they'll swing all the way up and stick up here. Because a lot of times when you're putting the trailer in the water's only this deep. So these lights can be up out of the water. You can float the boat off. You don't get all your tail lights all wet, which is nice.
Are most of the trailers this complex?
I think they're not, but this is really easy to get the boat on and off of. So this
Yeah, I know.
baby
I mean, it seems like it.
goes from
Which one? This one.
the inside is 19 1/4, basically, and the outside I can't get to that edge to measure it. I don't think. Well, kind of. It's not a straight cutoff though, so I don't trust it. So I'm just going to go with the inside measure, 19 1/4, and then it's up 20 1/2 to the top on the inside of that boat. And the angle looks like it's about 45 degrees, it looks like. Standing off the ground, this is not level ground, so this is just an approximation, to the top of that tube is 46 inches. And then there's another piece welded on here that's 3/8 that has to be pretty strong because the weight of the boat can come against it. And these bumper rollers that come in here to protect the boat as it comes in. Same thing on the other side, same thing on the bunk. And I can tell you what the distance of these big trusses are. They are 74 3/4. 74 3/4. And the axles are probably 79 inches.
Okay.
I'm guessing. So this bunk up here, I gave you the measurement where that came from, right? So I'm going to give you the measurement where this one goes. There's a big roller here on the end. I don't know if we mentioned that.
Well, it was in the photo. Do you want to
That's
help him
protect
hold
the
on to
keel.
it?
Hopefully the keel's not going to hit that. I'm having trouble getting to that, so maybe we go this way.
Right.
Can you hold that for me?
Right.
Bring it right to the, not to the plate, but to the piece coming up.
To this?
Yeah, to the inside of that. So the inside, the back side edge, back to the very back of the frame, tubing itself, or the main frame, is 10 feet, 1 3/4 inches, basically. 10 feet, 1 3/4 inches. And this other one's already made there, I think, is 2 feet. Yeah, 24 1/2 inches. That we had over here too. 24 1/2, yeah. Okay, what are we missing now?
The
These little
front.
rollers. The distance between the guides,
Was
I gave
16.
you already, is 18
Oh, I thought
inches.
16.
I've got a trailer light
18.
busted there. There's 3 trailer lights right here, running lights in the back.
Whoa.
The distance between the rollers is 17 inches. That the keel is probably about 12 or so, but it's wider at the top, so it could be pretty close to that. So the in between the plates 24 and a half, and there's an L bracket and an L bracket. Did you see all that? Mm-hmm. So between here is about 16 and a half inches here, and between the plates is 24 and a quarter on that one. So it's, you know, this one, in fact, they even look a little bit off center, but they're pretty close. Pretty
Okay.
close. All right, now he's got a weird, this is weird to me because he's got basically one bolt that's covering, holding up half of the weight of the whole front tongue. And he's got 4 bolts there. This cross piece is,
That's strange.
30, and you're good, go.
Okay. And we're back.
And we're back. Okay, so this cross piece was 38 and a, what did I say, 38 and something? 38 and a quarter inches. And he's got, just a piece of angle iron. It's 2.5 inch by 3.5 inch, so it's taller for stiffness. And he's got a couple of brackets. They look like they're 2-inch steel. And they're 2 inch by 2 inch, and it's got a single bolt going through there, which seems crazy to me. I would think, I mean, it's not taking the full weight, but it's taking a lot of weight. If you slam on the brakes, all that weight's going to shift forward on the tongue. So if I were him, I would have that be 2 bolts and a tall L bracket, and
there's nothing underneath.
yeah. So that seems weird. I mean,
And
we've
this is
certainly
not
trounced on the
welded.
brakes before, but and he's got 4 bolts up here. So the distance to the front of this, to where it starts its bend, it starts the arc at about 5, not quite 5 feet, probably 58 inches, and then it arcs for a couple feet almost on this. So that's kind of interesting. This front tongue piece, until it gets to the receiver section, so you'd probably have to go in there a little ways and weld all that together because there's the hydraulic brake stuff, is not quite 9 feet, which means 8 feet 10 inches to where the weld is, where the weld starts right here.
Okay.
But I'm imagining that it goes clear out in here another 16 inches or so.
Okay.
But that depends on what you've got for a fitting. This baby, from the back of the bar, not the plate, but where it actually comes up, is 63 inches. And he's got a welded brace here to give it some strength. I would make that bigger too. I'd put like something that was stronger, because when you slam on the brakes again, the whole boat is going to want to lurch forward, and it's going to, all that weight's going to go against this tongue here, this piece. The height, the length of that, is 32.5 inches. And that's not counting the plate that's on the bottom of it, that's basically made wider. So it's a 5-inch plate with a 3-inch post. It's a 3 by 3 inch post. The 5-inch plate allows the U-bolts to come around and tie down. He's got 6 U-bolts on it. This is a 3/8 inch, half-inch. This is a half-inch steel right here, so it doesn't buckle easily. Still doesn't seem like enough. And he's got his winch assembly. This comes out from here to the nut is 6 5/8 inches on center for the nut, which puts, I don't know what that puts that at. That's probably going to be 7.5 inches out is the line for the pad. This, come around this way a little bit. This line right here, the back side of this, is 7.5 inches away from the face of that. So these come out 6.5 inches on center, so they've got to come out 7 inches. And he's got them welded onto that 3-inch stuff. So that's all kind of easy. Let me get a measurement from here all the way down to the back. So we're going to hold that to the outside tube dimension, which should give us then the length of tube that this thing's built out of. and I can only go to here, which is 91¼ inches.
It's a short tape.
So take that 91¼ inches, and we're going to go
Add
right
to.
to that plate. We're going to come down here into the dark.
It's the end of the trailer.
125¼ Yep, 125¼
Plus 91 and,
whatever I said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that it?
Probably not.
What
So
size tires are they?
No, we can look at that. These pieces hanging down off here
It's too dark, I think.
are 5 inches by 2.5.
It's too dark to see.
They're just the tails that come down for the center pivots for the leaf springs to connect to. This one, this angle out, and the height of it, the actual tube, not the bracket. The tube is 15.5. The extender piece is 13.75. The total with the extender and the tube is 24.75. And then there's just a little L bracket with a nut that attaches to the bolt, to the bunk, and that rotates off that bracket. Again, a plate with 4 through bolts.
Too dark.
It looks like the front of the main beam underneath is that big tube steel stuff, and then there's a riser that looks like it's how high is that riser?
Mike, you might turn the
3.5
headlights on.
And I'm going to go to the other side where it's not as bent. That fender's bent a little bit. And there's let's see, there's 2 bolts in there. That riser is a piece of tube steel, and a bolt goes this way that the leaf springs tie into. 2 bolts go into the top to tie that riser in, and this is welded, so it looks like it's maybe just made from welded piece, not tube steel. In fact, it is. They're all welded. So there's a wider plate up top. There's a piece of plate and the beam, and then 2 vertical plates. And the plates are 3.5 inches wide, and I think I already gave you the top. They're 3.5 tall, so they're 3.5 by 3.5 square. And it looks like they hang out, maybe, from the other dimension I gave you. 72.25. Don't think about that 72.25. Plus 3. So 75.25 is the outside to outside of that
Okay.
little thing, whatever that is on the.
We need light to see that.
I have 2 flashlights.
So we're rolling. Okay, we're rolling.
All right. So what I was going to measure was we're going to figure out where this beam goes right here, right? So I'm going to go from the back of the straightest measurement is to go from the back of my that beam right there, the furthest back beam.
Okay.
Because we know what that distance is from the back of the big main trusses. So we'll take the back side of that, because we know that's what we measured to before, and we'll measure to the back side of this.
Okay.
And from back to back is 123.25 inches. And just for kicks, to see if they did this parallel, we're 123 1/8 on this side.
Wow. Not bad drilling and welding.
And we're 123 3/8, so it's 1/8 of an inch out of skew. Probably they were due for a beer.
Can you take a picture of just that part there?
This whole thing?
No,
Yeah.
this part right there. And then we already have the voice on it. We just need to look at it.
Here, okay.
That light's a little too bright because it's all one big beam. There you go. Yeah, that's fine like that. So there you can see there's the top plate. These plates are 3.5 by 3.5, and there's 2 of them, and they're set about 2 inches apart, and they're welded on, welded on, welded on, welded on, and then a bolt back in the corner over there. If I can get the,
Okay.
and that attaches it to there. And then shine a little more light down on these leaf springs. You don't probably need that because you're not going to build a trailer, I don't think, but whoever builds a trailer, they would know how to do all that, so that's not going to be a problem. Here you've got
surge brakes, or
these are surge brakes, and here you've got the brake attachments coming in over here. So you've got 3 sets of U-bolts. One of them has the brake assembly lines, and it splits out there.
That's enough. If I turn off.
Okay.